The great ship hung in space like a sleeping giant. Its metal skin gleamed under the light of 3 distant suns. This was the Sovereign's Talon, the flagship of the Vraxian Empire. Inside its largest chamber, history was being made. Daiho stood near the back wall, his eyes scanning everything. He wore the dark uniform of a human security contractor. His hand rested near his weapon, but he kept his face calm. This was his job. Watch, wait, protect. Around him, the chamber buzzed with quiet activity. Dozens of alien beings moved through the space. Most of them were Vraxians. They were tall, with gray-blue skin and 4 arms. Their faces had too many angles to look friendly, but Daiho had learned not to judge. Humans were new here. They had only been part of the galactic community for 15 years. Everything was still strange. At the front of the chamber stood Ambassador Hannah. She was speaking with the Vraxian diplomats, her voice steady and professional. Next to her stood Yuna, the translator. Yuna was young but sharp. She knew 6 alien languages. Daiho respected that. Words could be weapons or shields depending on how you use them. The Vraxians had their own guards. 20 of them lined the walls wearing armor that looked like it had been grown instead of made. Their commander was named Thol. He was bigger than the others, with scars that told stories Daiho would never hear. The Vraxian guards watched everything with dark, unblinking eyes. Daiho knew he was outmatched. If fighting started, the Vraxian guards would win in seconds. But fighting was not supposed to happen today. Today was about peace. The great doors at the far end opened. Everyone fell silent. Queen Zathras entered. She was enormous. Even for a Vraxian, she was huge. 12 feet tall, with 4 arms that moved like water. Her skin was darker than the others, almost purple. She wore robes that seemed to shift colors in the light. But it was her eyes that caught Daiho's attention. They were ancient. They had seen things that humans could only imagine. Everyone bowed. Daiho bowed too. Respect cost nothing. The queen moved to her throne at the center of the chamber. When she sat, the room seemed to breathe again. Ambassador Hannah stepped forward and began to speak. Yuna translated her words into the Vraxian language. The ceremony had begun. This was a peace summit. Humans and Vraxians had been dancing around each other for years. Small trades, careful words. Now they were ready for something more. A real alliance, the kind that would change everything. Daiho only half listened to the speeches. His job was not to understand politics. His job was to watch for danger. His eyes moved across the room in a pattern. Guards, exits, the queen, back to the guards. Then something changed. Yuna's voice stumbled, just for a moment. Daiho's attention sharpened. He looked at her. She was staring at the queen with a strange expression. Confusion, maybe worry. Yuna caught Daiho's eye and gave a tiny shake of her head. Something was wrong, but she did not know what. The ceremony continued. A Vraxian aide brought forward a large container. It was made of crystal that glowed from within. Inside was an artifact, something old and precious, a peace offering from the queen to the humans. The aide placed it on a platform between the queen and Ambassador Hannah. Everyone leaned forward to see. Even Daiho felt curious. The aide reached to open the container. His 4 hands moved to the seals. Then everything went wrong. One of the seals broke, not opened, broke. The crystal cracked with a sound like ice splitting. Green gas poured out. It filled the air in seconds. The smell was strange, sweet, but wrong, like fruit left too long in the sun. The Vraxians reacted instantly. Thol shouted something in his language. All 20 guards turned and ran for the exits, not walked, ran. These were elite warriors, the best of the best, and they were fleeing like children from a fire. Daiho's hand went to his weapon. His training kicked in. When the guards run, something is very wrong. Ambassador Hana stumbled backward, coughing in the green gas. Yuna grabbed her arm, trying to pull her toward the door, but the Queen stood from her throne. Her 4 arms spread wide, her mouth opened, and a sound came out that made Daeho's bones hurt. It was not a scream. It was something older than screaming. Something that spoke to the prey animal in every living thing. The Queen's skin began to change color. The purple went darker, almost black. Her eyes, those ancient eyes, turned solid white. Her fingers extended into claws as long as knives. Thal was at the door now. He looked back and saw Daeho still standing there. The Vraxian commander's face showed something that might have been pity. "Run, human!" Thal's translator made his voice sound hollow. "The rage state! No one survives!" Then he was gone. The doors began to close. Heavy metal doors designed to seal this chamber completely. Daeho saw Ambassador Hana running for the exit. She would make it. But Yuna was farther back. She had been helping someone else, and now she was too far from the door. The chamber shook. The Queen took a step forward. The floor cracked under her weight. She was changing, growing. Her body was becoming something else, something from a nightmare. Daeho had 3 seconds to choose. He could run. He could make it through the door if he ran right now. Leave Yuna. Follow protocol. Survive. Instead, he ran toward Yuna. His boots pounded on the floor. He grabbed Ambassador Hana as he passed and shoved her toward the door. She flew through the gap just as the metal began to close. "Daeho!" Yuna screamed his name. She was trapped behind fallen debris, metal that had collapsed when the container broke. Her leg was pinned. The doors slammed shut with a sound like the universe ending. The chamber was sealed. Daeho, Yuna, and the Queen in her rage state were locked inside together. The Queen turned her white eyes toward them, her mandibles spread wide. The sound she made was hunger and fury and something worse than both. Daeho pulled his weapon and stood between the Queen and Yuna. Every guard had fled. Every warrior in 10,000 years had fled, but the human stayed. His hands did not shake as he aimed his weapon. His voice was steady when he spoke. "Yuna, how do I stop her?" From behind him, Yuna's voice came out broken with pain and fear. "You don't. No one ever has." The Queen charged. Daeho threw himself sideways. The Queen's claw slammed into the floor where he had been standing. The metal bent like paper. Sparks flew. The chamber shook. He rolled and came up firing. Blue plasma bolts hit the Queen in the chest. They would have killed most beings. They made the Queen pause for 1 second. Then she screamed and came at him again. Daeho ran, not away from Yuna, around the chamber, leading the Queen away. His calm came alive in his ear, multiple voices shouting over each other. He recognized Hana's voice first. "Daeho! The doors won't open! The chamber is on full lockdown!" Then another voice, Commander Thal. The Vraxian's words came through the translator, but the emotion was clear. Horror. "Human! Listen! You cannot fight her! The rage state has no mercy. She will kill everything until she exhausts herself. It takes hours. Maybe 6. Maybe 8. You must hide." Daeho jumped over a fallen pillar. The Queen smashed through it behind him. Stone and metal flew like rain. "How long until the doors open?" Daeho spoke between breaths. He was already tired. The Queen was not. Thal's voice cracked. "When the rage ends, when she sleeps, that is the only way." Daeho looked toward Yuna. She was still trapped, pulling at the debris on her leg. Blood stained her uniform. She had minutes, not hours. If she did not get medical help soon, she would die even if the Queen never touched her. "That's not an option," Daeho said. He fired again. The plasma bolts hit the Queen's face. She barely noticed. Her forearms reached for him. He ducked under them and kept running. Another voice on the comm. Jiho, another human security officer who had made it out. Daeho, brother, there's nothing you can do. Just survive until she tires. Yuna's dying, Daeho said simply. Silence on the comm. They all understood. There was no good choice here, just a bad choice and a worse one. The queen was faster than she looked. Her size should have made her slow. It didn't. She moved like lightning in a bottle. Every step cracked the floor. Every swing of her arms could split a man in half. But Daeho had been in combat before. Not like this. Never like this. But he knew how to read an opponent. He watched her move, watched the patterns. The queen was not random. Even in rage, there was structure. She favored her left side. Her strikes came in sequences. High, low, sweep, over and over. He used that. When she went high, he went low. When she swept, he jumped. It was like dancing with death. One mistake, and he would die. She's following patterns, Daeho shouted into the comm. Thal, does the rage state have patterns? A long pause. Then Thal's voice, confused and amazed. Yes, ancient patterns. Combat forms from before we had civilization. But no one has lived long enough to learn them. How do you know this? I'm still alive, Daeho said. That's how. He was learning. With every dodge, every roll, every desperate jump, he was learning how she moved. It was not enough to win, but it was enough to survive. For now. Minutes passed. Daeho's armor was cracked in 3 places. His left arm hung uselessly. Something was broken inside. He could feel it grinding when he moved. The pain was white-hot, but he pushed it down. Pain could wait. The queen caught him once, just a glancing blow. Her claw scraped across his chest. The armor held barely. The impact threw him across the chamber. He hit a wall hard enough to see stars. His ribs screamed. He dragged himself up. The queen was coming. Always coming. Yuna's voice cut through the chaos. Daeho! Her eyes! When they pulse white, she's about to use her psychic attack! Daeho saw it. The queen's blank white eyes flashed brighter. He felt something slam into his mind. It was like knives made of ice, cutting into his thoughts. He fell to one knee, his vision blurred. But the attack didn't paralyze him. It should have. He heard Thal shouting through the comm, disbelieving. How are you standing? Her psychic power should have frozen you completely. Daeho gritted his teeth against the pain in his skull. Maybe human brains are different. He was right, though he did not know the science. Human neural patterns had evolved differently. The queen's psychic attacks were designed for alien minds. They hurt Daeho, hurt him badly, but they could not lock him down. It was like trying to use a key in the wrong lock. It didn't fit quite right. He used the queen's confusion. While she stared at him, wondering why he still moved, he fired at the ceiling. The plasma bolts hit a support beam. Metal groaned and collapsed between them. It would not stop her for long, but it gave him seconds. He ran to Yuna. His hands worked at the debris holding her leg. It was heavier than it looked. Leave me, Yuna said. Her face was pale. Just stay alive. Shut up, Daeho said, not unkindly. He pulled harder. The debris shifted. Not enough. Behind them, the queen roared. She was tearing through the fallen metal like it was made of paper. A new voice on the comm. Minho, commander of the human military ship in orbit. Daeho, every ship in the system is watching this. All their sensors are on that chamber. Do you understand what I'm saying? Everyone knows a human is fighting a Vraxian queen. Daeho laughed. It came out harsh and broken. Great, I'll wave for the cameras. But he understood what Minho meant. This was bigger than him now. This was about what humans were, what they could do, what they would do when everyone else ran. The metal debris finally moved. Yuna's leg came free. She cried out in pain. Daeho could see the injury. Bad, but not fatal. Not if they survived the next few minutes. He helped her up. She leaned on him heavily. They could not move fast like this. The queen burst through the fallen metal. She stood there, 12 feet of fury and claws. Her eyes fixed on them. For a moment, Daeho saw something in those blank white eyes. Not hatred, not really. It was more like desperation. Like someone drowning and pulling everyone down with them. Yuna whispered in his ear, "The rage state is a prison. She can't control it. She's trapped in her own mind." That changed something in Daeho. He had thought he was fighting a monster, but monsters could be killed. This was different. This was someone who needed help, even as she tried to kill them. He pushed Yuna toward an alcove in the wall, a small space, too small for the queen to reach into. "Get in there. Stay down." "What are you doing?" Yuna asked. Daeho checked his weapon. Half charge left. Not enough to kill. Maybe enough for something else. "Something stupid," he said. He stepped away from the alcove, into the open. The queen's eyes locked onto him immediately. Daeho lowered his weapon, not dropped it, just lowered it, pointing at the ground instead of at her. The queen tilted her head. The gesture was strangely human. Confusion broke through the rage for just a heartbeat. Daeho took a breath. Then he did something that made everyone watching through the sensors think he had lost his mind. He stopped running. Standing still was the hardest thing Daeho had ever done. Every instinct screamed at him to move, to run, to fight. But he held his ground. His boots felt welded to the floor. The queen stared at him. Her 4 arms twitched, her claws flexed, but she did not charge. From the comm, Thal's voice was barely a whisper. "Impossible. You should be dead already." The queen took 1 step forward, then another, slow steps, testing. Her white eyes never left Daeho's face. He kept his weapon lowered, his breathing steady. He had learned something in his years of fighting. Predators chased running prey. If you stopped running, sometimes they stopped chasing. Sometimes. The queen's mandibles clicked together. The sound echoed in the chamber. She circled him slowly. Daeho did not turn to follow her movement. He kept facing forward. Showing her his back would be suicide. But he did not track her like a threat either. He stayed calm. Still. "Daeho, what are you doing?" Yuna's voice was tight with fear. "I don't know," he admitted. "Trying not to die." The queen completed her circle. She stood in front of him again. Closer now. Close enough that he could smell her, like ozone and copper and something else. Something animal. Her psychic attack hit him again. Harder this time. Daeho's knees buckled. His vision went white with pain. It felt like his skull was being crushed from the inside. But he stayed standing. Barely. Through the pain, he heard Thal speaking rapidly in the background. The translator caught some of it. "His brain patterns are completely wrong for psychic dominance. The attack is causing pain but no paralysis. I've never seen this. No species has ever..." The pain faded. Daeho gasped for air. His nose was bleeding. He could taste copper in his mouth, but he was still standing. The queen leaned down. Her massive face came close to his. Those white eyes studied him like he was a puzzle she could not solve. Daeho made a choice. He spoke. His voice was rough, but clear. "I know you can't control this. I know you're trapped." The queen's eyes flickered, just for a second. Something else showed through, something aware. Yuna's voice came quickly. "She can hear you! Keep talking!" Daeho's mind raced. What do you say to a creature lost in its own rage? "I've been angry," he said. "So angry I couldn't think straight. So angry I wanted to break everything. I understand." The queen's mandibles clicked. Her head tilted again. Was she listening, or was he imagining it? He kept talking. "This isn't you. This is something that happened to you. You didn't choose this." One of the queen's arms reached toward him, slowly. The claw extended. It touched his chest, right over his heart. The claw was cold, sharp enough to pierce his armor if she pressed. But she didn't press. She just held it there. Daiho's heart hammered against that claw. The queen could feel it. He knew she could. His life, his death, balanced on the edge of that razor. "That's your heart," Yuna translated softly. The queen had said something, the first words since the rage began. "She says your heart beats like war drums." Daiho almost smiled. "Yeah, I'm terrified." The queen pulled her claw back. She straightened to her full height. For a moment, Daiho thought he had won. That somehow, impossibly, he had reached her. Then the rage took her again. Her eyes flashed bright white. She roared, and the sound shattered the lights above them. The chamber plunged into darkness broken only by emergency lights. The queen struck. Daiho moved on pure instinct. He rolled left. Her claws tore the floor where he had been standing. He came up running, but this time was different. This time he was not just surviving. He was fighting back. He fired his weapon, not at her. At the walls, at the supports, at anything that would fall and slow her down. The chamber was designed to contain a raging queen, but it was not designed to be a battlefield. He used that. Metal beams fell. Sparks flew. Fire suppression systems activated, filling the air with foam. The queen charged through it all like a force of nature, but it slowed her down. Seconds here, seconds there. Every second was a victory. Daiho's weapon clicked empty. He dropped it and pulled his combat knife. It looked like a toy compared to the queen's claws, but it was what he had. The queen caught him. Her massive hand closed around his body. The pressure was incredible. His ribs cracked. The pain was beyond white. It was black, all-consuming. She lifted him off the ground, brought him close to her face. Her mandibles opened wide. He could see down her throat. This was how he would die. But her eyes flickered again. Between white and the dark color they should be. She was fighting herself, fighting the rage. Daiho's vision was dimming. He could not breathe, but he forced out words anyway. "You're stronger than this." The queen's grip loosened, just slightly, just enough for him to gasp in air. Yuna was screaming something. Thal was shouting. The calm was chaos, but Daiho focused on the queen. Only the queen. "Let it go," he whispered. "Whatever this is, let it go." The queen's 4 arms trembled. Her whole body shook. She was at war with herself, and Daiho was caught in the middle. She threw him, not at a wall, not to crush him. She threw him toward the alcove where Yuna hid. He landed hard, tumbled, but he was alive. Bruised and broken, but alive. The queen backed away. She hit a wall and slid down it. Her hands went to her head. A sound came from her that was not a roar. It was something closer to crying. A keening wail that hurt to hear. Daiho pulled himself up. Every part of his body protested. He ignored it. He walked toward the queen. "Daiho, no!" Multiple voices shouted at once. He kept walking. Slow steps. Unthreatening. His hands empty and open. The queen looked up at him. Her eyes were changing, white to dark and back again. She was fighting so hard. He could see it. She was trying to break free. He knelt down in front of her. Far too close. Close enough that she could kill him with a lazy swipe. But he knelt like he was approaching a wounded animal. Careful, respectful. "You're not a monster," Daiho said. "You're just hurt." The queen's claw reached out, touched his face. Gently this time. Exploring. Her psychic presence brushed his mind, but not attacking. Curious. Through that touch, through that psychic connection, Daiho felt something. Her confusion, her fear, her rage at being trapped in her own body. And beneath it all, her gratitude that someone had stayed, that someone had not run. The moment broke. The rage surged back. The queen's eyes went pure white again. She stood suddenly, and Deho scrambled backward. But something had changed. She was not hunting him anymore. She was pacing, circling, like a caged animal looking for escape. Deho watched her. His body was failing. He could feel it. Blood loss, broken bones, exhaustion. But his mind was clear. He understood now. The rage was not trying to kill. The rage was trying to burn itself out, and she needed space to let it happen. He moved back to the alcove, sat down next to Yuna. She was crying silently, her hand gripping his. "How long has it been?" Deho asked. 40 minutes, Thal answered. His voice was hollow with shock. "You have fought a raging queen for 40 minutes. No warrior has ever lasted 10. "How much longer?" Deho asked. "Hours still. Many hours." Deho closed his eyes. "Then I'll wait." The queen raged on. But she did not come close to them again. She destroyed. She roared. She tore at the walls and floor. But she left them alone. And Deho waited. Bleeding, broken, but still breathing, still alive. Time became strange. Deho could not tell if minutes or hours had passed. The pain made everything blur together. He drifted in and out of consciousness. Each time he woke, the queen was still raging, still destroying, still trapped. Yuna held pressure on his worst wound. She had torn strips from her uniform to make bandages. Her hands shook, but she kept working, keeping him alive. "Stay with me," she whispered. "Don't you dare die after all this." Deho tried to smile. It probably looked terrible. Wasn't planning to. The comm was quieter now. Thal spoke occasionally, giving updates on time. 2 hours, 3 hours, 4. The Vraxian commander's voice held something Deho had not heard before. Respect, maybe even awe. Other voices came and went. Hana checking on them. Minho reporting that every news service in the galaxy was covering this. A human fighting a Vraxian queen. It was unprecedented. It was impossible. But it was happening. Deho did not care about any of that. He just wanted to survive. He wanted Yuna to survive. And strangely, he wanted the queen to survive too. To break free of whatever held her. Around the 5-hour mark, something changed. The queen's movements became slower, less wild. She was tiring. Finally. She stood in the center of the chamber, swaying slightly. Her 4 arms hung at her sides. Her breathing was heavy, labored, but her eyes were still white, still lost. Deho pushed himself up. Yuna tried to stop him. "You can't. You're too injured." "She's breaking," Deho said. "I can see it. She just needs a push." He stood. The world spun. His legs almost gave out, but he stayed up through sheer will. 1 step, then another, walking toward the queen. "Deho, no!" Thal's voice cracked with urgency. "This is the most dangerous time, when the rage begins to break. She is unstable, unpredictable." "Good," Deho said. "Unpredictable means there's a chance." He walked into the open. The queen's head lifted. Her white eyes found him. She growled, low and threatening. Deho stopped 10 feet from her, close enough to talk, far enough to maybe dodge if she struck. Maybe. He did something he had only done once before in this chamber. He removed his helmet. His face was exposed, vulnerable. Blood ran from a cut above his eye. His face was bruised and swollen, but he met her gaze. "Zathras," he said, her true name, the name Yuna had given him hours ago. The queen jerked like she had been struck. True names were sacred to Vraxians. Only equals used them, only loved ones. He said it again. "Zathras, I see you. I know you're in there." Her mandibles trembled. A sound came from her throat. Almost like a word, almost like a plea. Daiho took a step closer. His hand reached out, empty, offering nothing but connection. "Come back," he said simply. The Queen's psychic presence slammed into him, but this time it was different. It was not an attack. It was communication, raw, desperate, wordless. He felt her rage, her fear, her loneliness in the prison of her own mind, and he opened his own thoughts to her. Let her feel his determination, his exhaustion, his refusal to abandon her. Their minds touched in a way that should not have been possible. Human and Vraxian, two species that thought differently, felt differently. But in that moment, they understood each other perfectly. The Queen took a step toward him. Her claw reached out. Daiho did not flinch. He had been afraid for so long that fear felt like an old friend now. He was done running from it. Her claw touched his outstretched hand, palm to palm. The size difference was absurd. Her claw was longer than his entire hand. But the gesture was unmistakable. Trust. The Queen's eyes flickered, white to dark, faster now. She was fighting so hard, so close to breaking through. "Let go," Daiho whispered. "You're safe. I'm here. You can let go." Yuna's voice came soft through the calm. She was translating something. She says she's afraid of what she's done, what she's become. Daiho understood that. He had felt that way before, after battles, after violence, the fear of what you are capable of when control slips. "We all have darkness," he said. "What matters is what we do after. You didn't choose this. But you can choose what comes next." The Queen's whole body shuddered. A sound tore from her throat. Long. Terrible. The sound of something breaking. Then she collapsed. Daiho barely managed to step back as she fell. She hit the floor hard enough to crack it. Her forearms sprawled out. Her breathing was rapid and shallow, but her eyes were dark again, the right color. Aware. Daiho dropped to his knees beside her, not because he meant to. His legs just gave out. He was done, finished. He had nothing left. The Queen's eye rolled to look at him. One massive hand moved slowly, carefully. It touched his shoulder, so gently, like she was afraid he would break. She spoke. Her voice was rough, damaged from all the roaring, but the words were clear. Yuna translated through tears. "You stayed." Daiho nodded. He could not speak. Exhaustion hit him like a wave. "Everyone else ran," the Queen continued. "Every warrior in all my years, they ran. But you stayed. Why?" Daiho found his voice. It came out as barely a whisper. "Someone had to." The Queen's mandibles moved in what might have been a smile. "You are a fool, human." "Yeah," Daiho agreed. "Probably." Warning lights began to flash. The chamber doors groaned. They were opening. Finally, the lockdown was ending. Voices erupted over the comm. Medical teams were waiting. They would rush in, take care of everyone. But for a moment, before the doors fully opened, it was just Daiho and Zathras, a human and a queen, two beings who should have been enemies, who should have been nothing to each other. The Queen's claw squeezed his shoulder very gently. "I owe you a debt that can never be repaid." "Don't worry about it," Daiho said. His vision was darkening at the edges. "Just maybe warn people before bringing out ancient artifacts." The Queen made a sound. It took Daiho a second to realize she was laughing. Weak and rough, but laughing. The doors opened fully. Light poured in. Voices shouted. Footsteps ran toward them. Daiho saw Thol standing in the doorway. The Vraxian commander was staring at him like he was seeing a ghost. Behind him, 20 Vraxian guards looked the same. Shocked, disbelieving. Hana was there too, and medical teams from 3 different species. They swarmed in, surrounding both Daiho and the Queen. Yuna limped over. She was crying and smiling at the same time. She grabbed Daiho's hand and held it tight. You insane, beautiful idiot, she said. Daeho tried to respond, but the darkness was closing in fast. His body was shutting down. He had held on through sheer will for hours. Now there was nothing left to hold on to. The last thing he saw was the Queen's dark eyes watching him, aware, grateful, free. The last thing he felt was Yuna's hand in his. Then everything went black, and Daeho knew nothing at all. Daeho woke to soft lights and quiet beeping. Medical equipment. He knew the sounds. He had been in enough hospitals to recognize them immediately. He tried to sit up. His body screamed at him to stop. Everything hurt. But it was the kind of hurt that meant healing, not dying. He would live. Easy. A gentle hand pressed him back down. Yuna. She sat beside his bed, looking tired but whole. Her leg was in a brace, but she was smiling. How long? Daeho's voice was rough. 3 days, Yuna said. They had to rebuild half your chest. You had 14 broken bones, internal bleeding, severe concussion. The doctors said you should be dead 5 times over. Should be, but I'm not. Daeho managed a weak smile. How are you? Better than you? Yuna squeezed his hand. The Queen asked about you every day, multiple times a day. I think you made an impression. Daeho's memory came back in pieces. The chamber, the rage, the fear, and at the end, understanding. He remembered dark eyes filled with gratitude. She's okay? She's fine, recovered fully. The rage state took a lot out of her, but Vraxians heal fast. Yuna paused. Daeho, do you understand what you did? Survived? No, well, yes, but more than that. Yuna pulled up a screen showing news feeds, hundreds of them, all showing the same thing, him. The Queen, the sealed chamber. The whole galaxy watched, Yuna said quietly. Every species with sensors saw a human fight a Vraxian queen and live. Not just live, win. They're calling you the first being in 10,000 years to face a queen's rage state and break it. Daeho looked at the screens. He saw his own face, bloody and determined. He saw the queen in her rage. He saw the moment he removed his helmet. All of it recorded. All of it shared across 100 worlds. I didn't win, Daeho said. I just didn't run. That's the same thing to them, Yuna said. Every other species runs from a raging queen. It's built into their instincts, their cultures. But humans are new. We don't have those instincts. We don't have that cultural programming. The door opened. Ambassador Hana entered, followed by Commander Thal. The Vraxian was fully armored, but he moved with something like uncertainty, like the world had shifted under his feet and he was still finding his balance. Thal approached the bed. He looked at Daeho for a long moment. Then, slowly, he placed his 4 fists over his chest, a Vraxian salute, the highest respect a warrior could give. I have guarded the royal family for 40 years, Thal said. His translator made his voice sound heavy with emotion. I have trained since I was young to be strong, to be brave. But I ran. We all ran. And you stayed. A human, a species we thought weak and young. You stayed. I had no choice, Daeho said. Yuna was in there. There is always a choice, Thal said. You chose correctly. We chose poorly. He paused. Our queen wishes to see you, when you are able. Daeho nodded. I'll be able soon. Thal saluted again and left. Hana stayed. She sat on the edge of the bed. You're famous, she said. Not happy about it, just stating fact. Every human in the galaxy is celebrating. Every alien species is reassessing what they think about us. You changed everything, Daeho. I didn't mean to. Doesn't matter. You did. Hana sighed. The Vraxian Empire has offered you titles, land, wealth, more than you could spend in 10 lifetimes. I don't want any of that. Hana smiled. I told them you'd say that, so I negotiated something else. Better medical coverage for all human contractors. Better pay, better conditions. They agreed immediately. Apparently a queen's favor goes a long way. Daeho felt something ease in his chest. That's good. That's better. Over the next week, Daeho healed. The medical technology was impressive. What should have taken months took days. Soon he was walking, then running. His body remembered how to be strong. The queen sent gifts. He refused most of them, but he accepted one. A small crystal that showed stars. It was beautiful and simple. He kept it by his bed. Finally, he was well enough for visitors. The queen came herself. She had to duck through the doorway. Even in a medical facility built for many species, she was too large for easy movement. But she moved with grace, with control. Her eyes were dark and clear. Daeho stood. He started to bow, but she stopped him with a gesture. "No," Zathras said. Her voice was deep and rich. "You have earned the right to stand as my equal." They looked at each other. Human and Vraxian, so different. But connected now by what they had survived together. "How do you feel?" Daeho asked. "Ashamed," Zathras said honestly. "I nearly killed you. I nearly killed everyone. The artifact's pheromones triggered something ancient in me, something we thought we had evolved beyond. You couldn't control it. No. But you could have run. Should have run. Why didn't you?" Daeho thought about that. He had asked himself the same question many times over the past days. "Where I come from, we have a saying," he said. "When everyone else is running out, someone has to run in. I guess I'm just used to being that someone." Zathras tilted her head. "Your species is very strange, very foolish, and very brave. We've been called worse." The queen laughed. It was a good sound, warm and genuine. "I owe you my life, my sanity. How do I repay that?" "You don't," Daeho said. "Just, if another human does something crazy and brave someday, remember we're not trying to show off. We're just trying to help." "I will remember," Zathras promised. "The whole Vraxian Empire will remember. We thought we knew courage. We thought we understood strength. You taught us we knew nothing." She reached into her robes and pulled out a small object. A medallion made of dark metal. She offered it to Daeho. "This is the mark of blood debt," she said. "It means you saved my life at risk of your own. Any Vraxian who sees this will treat you as one of our greatest heroes. It cannot be taken back. It cannot be refused." Daeho took it. The metal was warm, like it was alive. "Thank you." "No," Zathras said softly. "Thank you." She left after that. But Daeho knew it was not goodbye. They would see each other again. They were connected now. Forever. More visitors came. Thal and his guards asked to train with humans. They wanted to understand this species that did not run. Minho came and told him the human military wanted him as an instructor. Other species sent messages, questions, requests. Daeho refused most of it. He was not a hero, not a teacher. He was just a man who did what needed to be done. But he accepted one offer. A request to speak to young human security officers. To tell them what happened. To teach them what he learned. He stood before a room of 30 humans. They looked at him with wide eyes, like he was something special. He wasn't. But he would try to explain anyway. "You've all heard the story," Daeho said. "Human faces raging alien queen, human wins. Very dramatic." Some of them laughed nervously. "But that's not the real story," Daeho continued. "The real story is simpler. Someone needed help. I helped, that's all." A young woman raised her hand. "But you could have died. Probably should have died. Weren't you afraid?" "Terrified," Daeho admitted. "Every second. But fear is not the enemy. Fear is information. It tells you danger is real. What you do with that information is what matters." A young man spoke up. "But other species have instincts that make them run. We don't." "Why?" "Because we're human," Daeho said. We evolved on a world full of things that wanted to eat us. Big things, fast things, dangerous things. And somehow we survived, not by being the biggest or fastest, but by being stubborn, by refusing to give up. By standing with each other when everything told us to run. He paused, looked at each of them. Other species see that as foolish. Maybe it is. But it's also our greatest strength. When everyone else flees, we stay. Not because we're fearless, but because we choose to be brave anyway. The room was silent. Then one person started clapping. Then another. Soon everyone was applauding. Daiho felt embarrassed. He waved them quiet. Just remember, he said, being brave doesn't mean being stupid. Know when to fight, know when to run, and know when to stay. That's all I did. I stayed when I was needed. After the talk, Yuna found him. She walked without a limp now, fully healed. You did good in there, she said. I just told the truth. The truth is powerful, Yuna smiled. The Queen sent another message. She wants to establish an exchange program. Human guards training with Vraxian guards, learning from each other. That's good, Daiho said. Maybe we can teach each other things. They walked together through the station. It was a human station, but it had visitors from dozens of species now. All of them curious about humans, about the species that did not run. Daiho saw a group of Vraxian guards. They saw him. They stopped and saluted. He nodded back. Does it feel strange? Yuna asked. Being famous? Yes, Daiho said honestly. I just want to go back to work. You can't. Not really. Everything's changed. Yuna looked at him seriously. You changed it. I didn't mean to. The best changes never are meant, Yuna said. They just happen when someone does the right thing. Daiho thought about that. About the Queen in her rage, about the choice to stay, about everything that came after. Maybe Yuna was right. Maybe he had changed things, not through strength or violence, but through a simple choice, to stay when everyone else ran, to help when helping seemed impossible. He looked up at the stars visible through the station windows. Somewhere out there, other humans were making similar choices, standing when others fled. Helping when helping seemed impossible. That was what humans did. That was what they had always done. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. Daiho touched the medallion at his chest. The mark of blood debt, a reminder of the day he faced a queen and refused to run. But more than that, it was a reminder of something simpler and more powerful. When someone needs help, you help, even if you're afraid. Even if the odds are impossible, you stay. That was the human way, and Daiho would carry that lesson with him for the rest of his life.